You're welcome along to Thursday morning's OTB AM. Big show coming your way between now and around 9:30 this morning. We're probably going to complain a lot. We're going to complain about VAR. Probably going to complain about Rory McIlroy at some point. Probably going to complain as well about how good Sean O'Shea is at football after UCC won the Sigerson Cup last night. If you've got anything you want to get off your chest, you can tweet us at Off The Ball. And with us this morning is Máire Treasa and Eoin. You're very welcome back.
Good morning. What do I get to complain about?
Well, I don't know. Take your pick. I think the first thing we should complain about this morning is Rory McIlroy.
I'm not going to complain about Rory McIlroy.
Well, that's the thing. I wasn't sure if you would or not because I guess I'm a bit of a Rory McIlroy sympathiser. If you're just waking up this morning and you haven't seen the news, Rory McIlroy is not going to play this year's Irish Open at Lahinch. I think it's something a lot of us suspected. He hadn't committed to any two European Tour events I think this season and had decided that he was going to just hold his fire a little bit on the Irish Open. So as you can see on screen there, he's going to focus on his Open Championship preparations, and Lahinch this year just doesn't play into that.
Exactly. No, I'm not going to blame him at all. He's done a lot for the Irish Open. I think he was ambassador from 2015, as in officially pushing it. He did his best. He travelled the world getting people to come and compete into it. He travelled to Ireland, gave it a lot of publicity. And Portrush, you can understand, he's from Northern Ireland, why Portrush would be really important to him on just a personal level. I know, I wouldn't begrudge him at all. I don't understand. I feel like that poor man gets a lot of abuse that's not always deserved. I don't know why. It's like he's held to a higher standard for whatever reason, maybe because he achieved so much so young. But no, just leave him be. If he's decided that he wants to go to Portrush, and this is the best way for him to prepare for that, and then if he didn't prepare properly for it, be thrown at him, oh, he didn't really prepare, because that's what's been thrown at him the last few years as well. So yeah, leave him alone. That's
the thing. I completely accept people who say about Rory McIlroy he's perhaps underachieved at points in his career, because he's definitely the most talented golfer this island has ever produced. And maybe people can make the argument that he should have more majors than he currently has. And that's fair enough. That's an opinion. I'm not sure if I agree with it. But then if you say that, you should also accept the fact that he needs to do everything in his power to actually add to that major tally, which in his view is not going to play in Lahinch this year at the Irish Open. And as you say, it's a good point as well. Winning another Open in front of his own people in Portrush would be an amazing achievement. And he says that himself it would be the biggest achievement of his career. Yeah,
and as well as that, he gets this thrown at him a lot about how he's underachieved. And if you look at it just in black and white terms, you could say yes, he's underachieved. But I remember last year when he was playing up in Donegal, lots of commentators were saying it's like his head's not in it, he's lost his focus, he's not as driven. But his life has changed. He's gotten married, he's won majors, he doesn't need to prove anything. Maybe the man is just going off enjoying his golf and also doing things like normal people do, like living a life. And I just don't think that maybe golf is not his 100% focus. And in the long run, that's probably healthier.
Yeah, it's a fair point. So you're not going to complain about Rory McIlroy?
I'm going to complain about people complaining about Rory McIlroy.
So that's one down. What about VAR? Are you going to complain about VAR?
I'm going to complain about VAR because they have a lot of money and they should be doing it better. But I'm not going to complain about the concept of VAR. It just should be done a better way.
Yeah, so a number of controversies last night. Nicholas Otamendi and that penalty call in the Manchester City game is one. Alvaro Morata's goal getting ruled out for Atletico Madrid last night was another one. And we seem to have fallen into this trap where VAR is being used to determine things despite the fact that there is no clear and decisive action that is required, or there is no conclusion that is the clear outcome. And that is why VAR was brought in. It was used quite effectively, I felt, in the World Cup at times, because it was only used when referees felt, well, that's clearly a penalty, or that's clearly not a penalty, or whatever the case may be. Whereas last night, the referees just decided, here's a grey area, let's try and get into the grey area and basically decide whether or not I think it's a penalty or not in certain situations, which ultimately is going to lead to the downfall of this thing. And it also doesn't help that the technology just didn't work. Literally, the computer on the side of the pitch wasn't working at times last night. So I don't know. It's there is kind of a thing that people tend to say that the whole thing is a disaster, when clearly it's the technology that at the moment just isn't fit for purpose. But plenty of work-ons.
Well, yeah, but it'd be interesting to find out what kind of pressure the referees are under to use VAR. Or did he have in the back of his mind, oh, that's grey and they're going to be throwing at me, why didn't you go to VAR? That's why I've gone to VAR. So it may become an emotional crutch for referees. So maybe the bigger issue is not VAR, but what kind of support do the referees have in their ear, perhaps? Or what kind of support do they have afterwards if there's a post-mortem, why didn't you give a penalty, why did it? And I can understand the referee's position, such an important game, something like that. But yeah, it has to, when it doesn't work, it's a bit of an issue. I don't understand how, with all the money they have, how there wasn't enough cameras everywhere to make sure that everything was seen. Why is there not a 360 view? This is what I don't get.
Yeah, it's a good point. Does it kill it for you in terms of the momentum of a game?
Well, no, I'm not sure I agree with that argument. It never kills it in rugby.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it does, but the good outweighs the bad. You could argue that if the right decision is made, it shouldn't be killing anything except going down a wrong road.
Yeah.
You know, if the wrong decision is allowed to happen and things progress, momentum keeps going, and a game progresses a way that technically, legally, it shouldn't have gone that way because something had gone wrong earlier, can you argue is it killing momentum if it's stopping a momentum that never should have happened? That's
Well, exactly.
a philosophical question.
Exactly. No, I agree, as long as they come up with the right decision. But the problem is, you could make an argument that they didn't come up with right decisions at certain points last night. And I just don't know how we've immediately fallen into the trap of actually dealing in grey area with something that is never meant for that. It's supposed to just deal with the black and white. And unfortunately, like, it seems like a fairly easy fix, but I'm not sure whether you actually trust football authorities to
But what
make
is
that
the easy fix, though? Is it just ensuring that 360 is there?
Or just tell referees, listen, that Nicholas Otamendi situation, like you look at that in slow motion. You can see that his ball perhaps moves away, or his hand moves away from the ball perhaps, and he's a little bit unlucky. Is it deliberate? Probably not. But once you get into the idea of saying the word probably, once you get into what may or may not have happened or what his motives may or may not have been, then I think you're in trouble. Then I think it's just pointless. Whereas if it's deliberate handball in the penalty area and it's missed, VAR is required there. So less is more, I think, when it comes to
Then how can you prove it's deliberate?
Well, like that's always a thing. But like say, I'm just trying to think. There was there was a couple of the handballs. Wasn't there an MTT handball in the World Cup where his hand just flies over his head and it's in a completely unnatural position, very different to Otamendi when he's falling, and I just think that's an absolute blatant one, far more blatant than Otamendi was last night. I think we can all agree that Otamendi last night was just the definition of something that you could say it's a penalty and I could say it's not a penalty, and there's no way of determining who's right or wrong.
Let's go back to the most famous handball of all time, Thierry Henry.
Well, second, that or Maradona, real.
For in an Irish context, right? Okay, you could argue by looking at it that was totally blatant. However, in the heat of the game, you know, the ball's going so fast. There's no reason, if we're going to go into semantics like that, why Thierry Henry couldn't argue it was just going so fast, a natural reaction.
Yeah, well, like if VAR didn't rule out the Thierry Henry handball, then I think we could all agree that would be an absolute disgrace. Like, it doesn't matter if that's, I guess that's actually literally keeping the ball in play with your hand.
But that's my argument about handball. It should just be deliberate, or it doesn't matter deliberate or not. If it's handball, that's it. It's the only way to make that fair. Right,
so you even think that if it's kind of like a ball to hands in an uncontrollable situation?
Yeah, because, like
I'm sorry, but if I'm looking at that, I'm like, that's not grey area whatsoever. That is a free to Ireland right here, right now. And that's it. Like, VAR would have saved us in that occasion. I'm pretty confident of that, even with last night's officials.
I'm just saying, though, that's why the rule has to be black and white. It has to be handball, doesn't matter deliberate or not, because there's no reason why he could argue, you know, threw my hand out, it hit it off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you allow grey to come into handballs in the penalty box, this is what happens.
Well, I can see the point you're trying to make, and I think the fact that we're having this disagreement shows the reason why this thing is causing so much consternation amongst people. Like, even if you look at the views in the newspapers this morning, it's so varied in terms of what VAR is failing, or how VAR is failing. People are saying it's the humans involved, people are saying it's the technology involved, people are saying just give it patience, and people are saying that they should never have come in whatsoever. So there's so many different views in all of this, but we'll come back to that later on. We'd love to hear your views as well. You can tweet us at Off The Ball. One last thing before we get in to what's coming up today is Sean O'Shea. Didn't actually get a good look at this last night. He was the star man for UCC, I understand, Máire Treasa. So you were dual screening it last night. Yeah,
dual screening it and trying to keep an eye on everything, and then kind of ended up not seeing much of any. You know, that kind of way when you try to dual screen. I don't know, I'm a woman, I should be better at multitasking. I'm not great. But I think, I'm double checking here, I think it was 7 points he got or something. Now, they were up against a 14-man, you know, St Mary's, which definitely helped UCC, obviously. But I mean, it just goes to show the magic is there and the potential is there. And it probably was even showed a bit more last night, because you'd argue that obviously the quality of Sigerson Cup, while it is very, very high, it is not inter-county competition.
Sure.
And you could see the difference. But yeah, it was just really nice to watch the bits that I did see, that I wasn't too squeeny looking at another screen. Do you know what I mean? It was just there was a flow to it, and it was just weird. Like Mary's did try to employ a sweeper, it didn't work. Now, it might have worked if they had the full full, 15, but they didn't. But I think UCC were just stronger on the day, and I think Sean O'Shea was just sublime, and I'm sure you're delighted to hear that.
Well, I'm staying neutral on this one, but
you're right. You're right.
Seeing Billy Morgan celebrate and all that, it always makes my heart warm. So that's Sean O'Shea. Let's tell you what's coming up this morning on OTB AM. We're going to get to Kieran Donaghy's shot clock in around 10 minutes' time with brand new graphics and all that sort of thing. Then Craig Breen at 20 to 9. I went into the rallycross car with him last week in Mondello Park, but we also sat down with an interview with him about a fairly mixed 2018. There was plenty of ups, plenty of downs, and he's pretty open about his own mental health and how he struggled a bit at the end of last year as well, before getting back behind the wheel of the car. Six Nations 2019 then coming up at around 9 o'clock. It's Mike McCarthy who's going to join us to talk about the Italy game this weekend, and then Katie O'Farrell is going to join us in studio at 9:15 to talk about Jump Girls, brand new documentary on TG Cahir, which is the sequel to Jump Boys, one that was out.
Jump Boys was out, I think, in 2012 or 2013. It was a great documentary. I
never actually saw that.
Oh, it's well worth. As far as I know, if it's not, they should. Generally, TG Cahir do put things up on the player when people ask for it. If it's not there, they may put it back up. It's brilliant. It's well worth the watch. It followed Barry Geraghty, Ruby Walsh and Davy Russell during the jump season, and it's just amazing. You really see what they put their bodies through, what they put their minds through, and just the mundane as well, just the driving from racecourse to racecourse and all the work that goes. It was just really well done. It had you on the edge of your seat because it was coming down to the jockeys, the championship and all that kind of stuff. It was just brilliant. Jump
Girls is also brilliant. Episode 1 airs tonight on TG Cahir, and then Katie O'Farrell features in episode 2, which is next week. The one thing that really stuck out to me from the documentary is the fact that it's basically just a story of a load of jockeys. The fact that it's Jump Girls, the fact that it's about women, it's a complete side note. It's not even really a part of it. It's like, this is just normal.
Yeah, it's absolutely normal, and I'm sure the reason why it was called Jump Girls is because it's the sequel to Jump Boys. But yeah, I mean, horse racing has led the way for years. There's no female jockey, male jockey. You're just a jockey, which is great. Now, again, you can see why it's different. The physiology possibly doesn't come into it as much as it would in other sporting events, but at the same time, it's less to do with your own physical strength and your size and how you are good at handling a horse, from what I can gather. So, male or female doesn't come into that. You're a good horse person or you're not.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Which is a
very simple way to put it. I know, sure, jockeys are pulling their hair out, say, what is she saying? But you know what I mean.
So Katie O'Farrell will join us at around 9:15 this morning. Before that, let's have a look at the back pages this morning. And I'm going to start with the Irish Independent. And the lead here, it's Donnacha Boyle's story that Donegal called for support to get Dubs out of Croke Park. All-Ireland winning captain Malloy says other counties won't be let play twice at home. So this is Anthony Malloy, who of course captained Donegal to Sam Maguire in 1992, saying that he's actually relatively confident that the 60% motion, the 60% of the vote is going to be sought in Congress to get Dublin out of Croke Park for their home game in the Super 8. So the motion basically, if you missed it at Congress this year, is that no team shall be allowed to nominate Croke Park for a home game. And he says I would imagine counties would support the motion. I'd imagine they'd definitely support it because at the end of the day, it is about being fair. We came here to Croke Park last year and we had to play Dublin here. Is that fair? That game probably should have been played at a neutral venue. I think the third game should go to a neutral venue anyway, and a home and an away and a neutral venue is what he says. So it's interesting stuff. What do you reckon? Like, I'm very to and fro about whether or not this is actually the right way to get this motion through. I'm certainly to and fro about whether or not this thing is going to pass.
I think it will pass.
Is that because of an anti-Dublin bias, or is it because of a pro-fairness kind of mood at Congress?
It's probably a bit of both. I don't even think it's an anti-Dublin bias, but it's more of a, sure, the Dubs have everything anyway bias.
Should we not be just facing up to the idea that Croke Park is one of Dublin's home grounds?
But it shouldn't be.
I know it shouldn't be, but this is the situation we're in.
Yeah, this is the situation we're in, but why allow it continue? It shouldn't be. We know it shouldn't be, so let's change it.
So do you think they should play their home game in Parnell Park?
I think they should have done what other counties have done, which is ensure they have a good ground capable of taking their fans. They did not do that. Dublin have done things very, very well, but one thing they did not do well was keeping up with the times when it came to Parnell Park. It should have been redeveloped years ago. And it's a great venue. And
it's cracking.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I'd much rather go to a chock-a-block Parnell Park than to a half-empty Croke Park.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think in my head, so who that game would be. So that would be a neutral venue game, or it'll be their home game. So the neutral venue game will obviously be the bigger Dublin game. They'll be up against the Connacht champions. So it won't be...
Galway.
Yeah, well, let's go with that. Let's go with that. And Mayo people getting on Twitter immediately. So it's not going to be an absolute blockbuster of a game, you'd imagine. But the thing is, you could have like the Connacht runners up in there at a certain point, or like there could be somebody who comes through the back door, and it could have a massive game in Parnell Park. It depends how the draw goes, and that would leave them it would leave them in a tricky enough situation, I suspect. I just couldn't get over the idea that a Super 8's game featuring Dublin could be played in Parnell Park. But as you say, whose fault is that?
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing, like people saying, oh, Dublin has too many fans to go into Parnell Park, but that's not the other county's problem.
Yeah.
Do you know, that's the other thing. And the other thing is as well, like there's a lot of psychological research done out there, a lot of academic papers written. There is a thing such as home advantage. It has been proven.
Without question.
Absolutely. So why should Dublin get it twice?
And the thing is, home advantage in Parnell Park may even be amplified.
Yeah, it might be.
The Irish Examiner Sports section goes with skill and crossbone. Impressive UCC claimed 22nd Sigerson Cup to champagne flowing there last night. The back page of the Times Ireland edition goes with players back from injury to lift Ireland, and Cardiff error could cost Salah family £600,000. And then on to the Irish Times this morning. Sexton looks set to get gnawed over Carbery, writing Jerry Thornley and Rory O'Connor. And a number of the other journalists as well across the papers have this as well this morning. So it looks like Joe Schmidt is going to go with the tried and tested. And it seems that the out-halves, Conor Murray is going to start as well. They just need a bit more time on the pitch. They just need a bit more time to actually get up to the pitch that we know they can get to on 2018's evidence. So I think that's a fairly unsurprising decision. Also, Quinn Roux has been speaking in the media today as well. He's more at home now than ever in the Ireland setup, he says. He speaks about some of the criticism he's got, or the lack of warmth he's received from the Irish public for his performances in an Ireland jersey. He doesn't really mind it too much. He says he loves doing the dirty work to allow someone like James Ryan to flourish. We'll get Mike McCarthy's take on that a little bit later on. Máire Treasa, you got the tabloids?
I do. This is the Herald Dogged Cities Schalke scalp. Obviously, that's what they're talking about. We already had the discussion about VAR. And also, small headline on the side, Obafemi, he's in a 3-year deal with Saints. We had heard that yesterday as well. And let's see, what else have we got? This is the Irish Daily Mail. Video stars. Video killed the radio star, they say, but this is video stars. It's the VAR farce, but Sterling grabs late winner as 10-man City beat Schalke. Obviously, that's a big talking point. And again, here as well, in the Daily Telegraph, we have the City stunner. So that's the big story in all the tabloids at the moment, is last night's action. And let's see who we got here. This is The Guardian. And Sarri defined we need to win games is the only solution. And big City picture there as well. And Stir Crazy as well, same thing again. So I could just say it's all City on the back of all the pages. Don't mention the VAR. Very good headline, I think.
Have it a morning to you.
Yeah, that came from the Star. And the Sun saving the best to last. Vara.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, Sterling snatches late winner as City bounce back from video ref shocker. So Sinead.
Good stuff. So the shot clock, I should say, with Kieran Donaghy is a new weekly series that you'll find here on OTB AM every single Thursday morning. Take it away, lads.